Learn how to make delicious apple butter in a crock pot with this simple slow cooker recipe. No fancy tools are needed. This recipe is super easy, it requires minimal prep, and it fills your home with the cozy scent of apples and spices. Perfect for fall mornings, holiday gifting, or spreading on warm toast. Well, it's time to make homemade apple butter, and that's what I'm planning on doing this morning. So I'm gonna be turning the camera on and off as I do different steps. But what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna show you, I've bought myself 12 pounds of apples, and I'm gonna make 2 batches of apple butter. So I'm going to weigh and measure to see which ones, to see where I need 6 pounds of apples. So I'm just gonna weigh them and we'll know for sure. So I'm going to turn my scale on. I hope you can see that. Maybe I should scoot you over just a little bit. Okay, let's just do that. All right, let's get this zeroed out. Okay, come on, cooperate here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to measure out 6 pounds of apples. Now I have all different varieties. I have Red Delicious. These are Ambrosia. I have Gala. Golden Delicious. And that one doesn't have a tag on. Fuji. These are Fuji apples. And I'm really not real picky about what apples I use. An apple's an apple, and it still turns out good. Alright, I think probably one more apple will do me. Let's do this one. 558. Okay. I'm hoping I wasn't shortchanged on apples when I weighed them at the supermarket. I hope I don't have to go back and get more apples. Because it doesn't look like I've got a lot left over there. And I'm going to weigh those out and see what I've got. As close to 6 pounds as I can get. I guess it doesn't have to be 100%. Set these over here. Oops. Set these over here until I wash them. All right, let's go ahead and just put these in and see how much weight I've got in these. You want to be pretty close. You don't have to be 100% exact. 583. So I think what I'm going to do, really need like a half an apple. Kind of hard to do a half an apple. So I'm going to leave this one out, and we will do 2 different batches. So once I get these washed and peeled, stickers off, I guess what I should do is fix myself a little garbage bowl. I'm right over here in my Tupperware cabinet looking for a plastic bowl that I can use for a garbage bowl for the time being. And I think I'm going to use this. This will fit right in my sink. That way I can put the tags and the peelings and whatnot all in there before I dump it in the trash can. And that way I'm not tracking so much over the floor. Okay, this one needs washing. I don't keep the peels on. So even though there's probably wax on these, we won't be eating it because I'll be using a peeler to take it off. I know watching me do this is probably like watching grass grow. But some of you've never made homemade apple butter. I guess I need to turn this way. I watch Brenda Gantt's videos. I love watching her. And she's just very natural about the goofs. And so that's what I'm going to try to do too. I'm just going to be me and I'm not a professional. I am a grandma, a great grandma, and a mama. And I'm just going to kind of do things the homey way. There won't be a lot of bells and whistles with me. So anyway, I think sometimes can be a problem for me. I haven't used it in a year, so we'll see. Sometimes getting this lined up exactly right is not easy. I'll put my peelings in here. Uh-oh. See, there's where one of the problems I had last year. It just kind of sinks in there. If some of you who are more experienced with these gadgets have tips, I certainly would appreciate hearing what they might be. Okay, so apples go in here. I didn't have it lined up exactly the way it should have been. These are fine. Take the core off. Okay. Back this off. Sometimes it seems like it might be easier just to sit there and peel them normally, you know, just by hand. But I don't particularly like doing that. If I can avoid it, I guess I should get my cutting board out. Because it looks like I'm going to need it. And I know you can't see it where you are. Trying to push this, trying to find the space to set up a tripod isn't easy in a small kitchen. So let's drag you over this way. See my kitty peeking out there. So how's your morning going this morning? Would you believe here in Florida, we have had one of the coolest starts to fall that I can remember. I mean, here it is. It's just the middle of September. It was 65 degrees when I woke up this morning. 65. We usually don't see those temperatures until October. So I am very, very grateful. And energized a bit because I love fall. I love the change of the seasons. And even though I am in Florida, I still celebrate fall, even though we really don't get fall here. I mean, you get a slight change. I mean, you get the change of the temperatures, which is indicative of fall. But as far as colored leaves, not so much. The leaves here where I'm at will change color, but they're very muted, dull. They're not real vibrant. Every now and then you might see something that has a little bit of a more colorful leaf on it. But that usually doesn't happen till around Christmas. So we're kind of, you know, because of our climate, we're a bit backwards from the rest of the country. So, as you can see, probably in my kitchen, I have quite a bit of fall scattered throughout my home because I like the colors. I like the orange, the greens, the golds, the reds, the dark reds. And quite honestly, being a baby boomer, I got married in the 70s, and our color schemes back then were burnt orange, avocado green, harvest gold. For any of you baby boomers, I'm probably bringing back a lot of memories with that. All the cord is out. Where I grew up, we had apple orchards nearby, so it was easy to get fresh apples. Although, to be quite honest, I didn't start making my own apple butter till just, really hadn't been all that long. But I used to be able to, when I would go home, my mother's church would make homemade apple butter and sell it as a fundraiser for the church. And so I would always order a case of apple butter to bring home with us when we'd go home for visits. But then, of course, as my mother got older, it got to be more of a burden, and so I stopped ordering it. And I thought, I've got to figure out a way to make my own. I wonder if there is a way that I could make my own in my kitchen, because I had heard people had made homemade apple butter in their ovens and whatnot. And I hated the thought I had to go through all the work of doing the apples and whatnot, but my family, we all love homemade apple butter. It's a big deal for us. And so, I did some searching on the internet and found a couple of recipes I've tried over the years, and I have one that I've stuck with. I just love it. Love it, love it, love it. And so, I stick with that one. Okay. These are soft on the inside. I have an idea this one's not going to work either. This is disappointing. Set those over there. See, it just breaks right off. Oh well, that just means a little extra work. So, I'll put these peelings into my garbage bowl. There's an apple can go in there. So what I'm doing here, if you can see, it leaves some of the peels on. And a little bit, if it's a little bit, I don't mind. But I've had colon surgery, and so I'm very careful with the skins of vegetables and fruits, because it can cause a blockage. And I don't need that in my life. Once you've gone through that, you don't want to do that again. So anyway, all I'm doing now is just kind of gussy them up a little bit. When I usually quarter them into fourths and put them in the pan, and that way they have a tendency to cook down better. I'll cut that in half. Core it. Get the last of the skin off. do you all like homemade apple butter? Do you make it at home? Do you have a good recipe? I use the Crockpot. I actually went out and bought myself. I used to do 2 batches at a time. You know, do a batch and then go back and do another batch. Well, I've got smart. Was it last year, year before last? I went out and bought myself a second Crockpot. So I just do 2 batches at once. And that's enough to last at least 6 months for me and my daughter and granddaughter. Because they like it too. I do smaller jars for them because they don't eat it quite as quickly as I do. Having apple butter on hand makes for a nice little treat. You know, I make sourdough bread, and so if you toast that up and put a little butter and apple butter on it, ooh, kind of helps with the sweet tooth sometimes. And you can use as little or as much as you want. So far, I haven't had a problem. Okay, let's see what this next apple's gonna do. At least I'm getting part of it peeled. These are golden delicious, so these will be softer. So I have an idea this one will probably be an epic fail too. But you know what? This is real life. I am not the Food Network. There'll be no retakes. Yeah, see, it's soft. Dag nabbit. That's disappointing. This is probably the worst trouble I've had with apples. Especially since I own a peeler. That apple is soft. I don't usually use Golden Delicious, but I thought this time I would try some. I won't be doing this again. No, Golden Delicious are just too soft. They'll cook down well. It'll be good. So are you all getting your yards cleaned up for the fall? Getting things all nice and pretty? Are you decorating? I've got the inside of my house almost finished. I still have a little bit to do in my room. Because I decorate every single room in my house. My hallways. I mean, I don't mean that it's heavily decorated, but I've got a little touch of fall in every room. It's just nice. For the change. Here in Florida, everything stays green all the time. Which I know for people who like to come down here on vacation, that's what they want to see, green palm trees. Me, not so much. I'm not your typical transplant. But I'll tell you one thing I am thankful for being able to do here that I could not do back home. It's being able to garden without having to use, you know, a shovel and do a lot of digging. Because it's sand. I live on a sand hill, so it's very dry. But it makes for easier gardening, really. Except that the water, you know, goes through and you have to water things a lot more frequently. And I probably should go out there at some point this morning and add a little water because we haven't had any rain since last week, which for us, you know, is not a good thing. But the weather is just backwards. You know, usually this is a rainy season for us. I know it can flip on a dime. I know all it takes is one storm off the coast to throw us into a tizzy. So I'm just enjoying each day. I'm not thinking about tomorrow, whether it's gonna be a storm or not. Hurricane. Today, weather is good. We've been so blessed with fall-like temperatures early. It's not cold. You see me with a sweatshirt on? That's more for just the sense that it might be fall. The temperatures are cooler. But in a little while, you'll probably see me coming out of this, changing into something else. The short sleeves. Because I am starting to get a little warm right now. The apples are now peeled and sliced and being placed into the crock pot. I put them in the crock pot along with 2 tablespoons of vanilla and cook on low for about 6 hours. This is the recipe that I use, along with all of my little notes and markings on there. I will share the completed recipe with you in the description below so you'll be able to copy it easier. Once the apples are tender, I use an immersion blender to make it smooth and stir in the sugar and spices and cook on low for another 5 to 6 hours. Actually, I fudge on this part. And I usually only cook it for just about a couple of hours, usually 2 to 3 hours, depending on what my timing is. And you can test it and taste it to see if it's as smooth as you want it to be. But it's usually done by then. I let it cool a bit, and then I spoon it into pint or half pint jars and let it cool before refrigerating. This freezes very well and is how I store it. I hope you're going to give this recipe a try because you are going to love it. It is the best apple butter recipe that I have tried and tested, and I've tried several. So please give this a try. Apple butter is great for gift giving, and I make and sell the jar bonnets seen here in my Etsy shop. They are available in a variety of colors, as well as in fall and Christmas fabrics. My Etsy shop is Kathy's Heart Creations, and it's located at www.etsy.com/shop/Kathy's Heart Creations.